Sure how we follow that, but we will certainly try. Okay. Thank you, guys. So it's time for our third panel of the day. This is in conversation with our Africa's Future Pitch judges. Now, the first ever Africa's Future Pitch competition is a new African Society of Cambridge University initiative to raise funds to support African early stage startups that will serve the continent of Africa. So you're going to have 3 startups. We'll hear from them later on in the afternoon. They're going to pitch their early stage startup or business to win £2,000 in funding. They'll also receive coaching and mentorship from Judge Business School students, networking opportunities with investors, and a chance to receive angel investment also. So before we actually meet the 3 finalists later on in the afternoon, we're going to meet the judges. So first I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Lamin K. Darboy, who's the CEO and co-founder of Bantaba. Let's welcome him to the stage. And then next we'd like to invite to the stage Dr. Khadija El Bedwehi, founder and managing director of Praxi Labs. And then Mr. Ikeno Uzo, senior manager of Amazon Web Services. And Dr. Patricia Vecchi, Director of Studies for Management Studies at Cambridge Judge Business School. And to moderate our panel, I'd like to invite Angela Kakali, Cambridge Chevening Scholar and MBA candidate in Finance at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School.
Check, I think. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming here today. It's a pleasure for me to be moderating this session. And I'm obviously joined by our lovely pitch judges for today. And I think the purpose of this session is really to set the stage for the pitch competition that's coming on later on this afternoon. So we are proud to have been able to bring together such a diverse group of entrepreneurs, academics, business people to just give us a sense of what their career paths have been like, how some of their learnings have contributed to the growth and development of the African continent, and last but not least, any tips that they can provide our pitch competition finalists to be able to be successful in the pitch competition. So without further ado, I'd like to kick it off probably with just a few general questions around their career paths, and I'd like to kick it off with Khadija, if you could start with just letting the audience know a little bit about your background and some of the work you're doing with Praxi Labs.
Sure, thank you. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? So first of all, I'm really proud to be here, and I'm not sure how I'm going to follow this keynote or even the panelists. So it was amazing for me, honestly. This is the first time I come to a place where you can hear 2 words without fear. So usually in my country you cannot do that as well. So anyway, I'm happy to be here with you and talk freely about everything. So first of all, I graduated computer science from Egypt, from Cairo University, in Normal University, and then directly started my PhD in the UK here in Sheffield. And I had it and became the youngest lecturer in my country. So that was a privilege for me, but then I wanted to use that to impact people. I wanted to change something. I really felt, I was grown up in an academic family, and that's why I always heard my father and my whole family talking about, if you want to change anything, just change education. If you want to look at countries which are advancing, see what they changed. It will start always by education, because if people are not educated, they cannot go on and change poverty or climate change or anything, because they are not well educated first. And that's why I changed my academic career and from being a professor at the university to trying to impact more people. So how to do that? I started to find the most challenging aspect in education, at least from my perspective, and it was virtual labs, or the problem itself was traditional labs. So having labs as a core in STEM, so when you come to study anything like pharmacy, medicine, anything like that, and you want to go to labs, the first aspect that you really find a lot of challenges with, whether in advanced countries or in emerging markets, are traditional labs. I can talk on and a lot about the problems, but just like very brief is how many times a student can enter the lab and do their experiments without someone telling them it's expensive, it has safety concerns, you need to finish in the first 30 minutes or you are out of here, for example, we cannot afford that, etc., etc. So there are a lot of problems, and when you get to think about that, to think about STEM dropout rates. So this is one of the major challenges we've been seeing, and that's why I founded Praxi Labs in 2016, directly after my PhD. And till now, we've been impacting and trying to change the lives of students who are studying sciences around the world. And I think now we are working with more than 17 different countries just in universities, but our website and our platform is being used by students around the whole world, trying to think how to give lab work to anyone without depending really on the resources they have. We've been talking a lot of the time in the last panel about resources, about not being lucky enough like the West. Of course, we have a lot of challenges in Africa, and one of the top challenges is education. If you look at it, just a quick thing, one statistic I heard was very shocking for me, that is our share of the world in the scientific output is less than 1%. And our population is going to be almost half the world. So think about it, it's huge. I mean, why is that? And because it's related again to STEM, I think we'll be able to do a lot of impact on lives and on Africa.
Thank you very much, Khadija, for that introduction. I know we have quite a big audience that are studying STEM-related courses in Cambridge. So I'm sure there's a lot of understanding in some of the challenges that they've had to face before they came to Cambridge. So switching gears a little bit from education, we're going to go online to Lamin, who's had experience in the finance industry and early stage financing for startups. So if you could just give us a very brief 1 to 2 minute summary of your experience, that would be great.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's a great pleasure to be part of a course like this. As you've already mentioned, my background is mainly in finance. I'm originally from Gambia in West Africa, and I completed my undergraduate studies in finance from Bocconi University in Milan, Italy. And then after that, I worked in a couple of sectors, including consulting, telecom, and early stage financing. And at some point, I went to complete my master's in finance at Stockholm School of Economics. And I guess, for what I'm doing now, for me, it's mainly from the experience that I've had traveling across the world in the past 10 years in different parts of the world, including in Asia, in North America, and in many other countries in Europe as well. And for me, that's, the privilege of meeting so many talented people within the African diaspora community that have done a lot of hard work to achieve a lot for themselves. They've had a lot of exposure, a lot of experience, and a good amount of wealth. It's also sitting in the community. And then, pairing that back to some of the challenges that entrepreneurs within the continent that are solving important problems are facing. And this is what got us to start Bantaba, which is a technology company that we founded in July last year. And the mission is to mobilize the knowledge and capital in the African diaspora community to empower the African tech ecosystem. And the purpose or the reason why we do this, it's simple. Most of us in the diaspora are here because there had been challenges in our home countries that made us live in the first place. And the truth is some of those challenges are still on the continent. But still, I think the positive thing is that there are people that have dedicated their life to solving these challenges. And those are tech founders on the continent that are using technology to address the different challenges that Africa is is facing right now. And I think from our perspective as the diaspora, the least that we could do is to be part of that journey and be part of that process in supporting these founders with first and foremost our knowledge, which is going to be very, very helpful for them, given the multifaceted experience and exposure that we have in the diaspora community, but also to a great extent being able to supply the capital that some of these founders would need in order to build the companies that are going to create the future for Africa and solve so many of the problems that we have. And that's what we do at Bantaba. We do it mainly through a technology platform that brings together professionals and investors in the diaspora community together with tech startups on the African continent. Thank you.
Thanks, Lamin, for that. And now we're going to kick it back to the stage, and I'd like to invite Patricia to give us a little bit of insight into her academic journey and professional journey too.
Thank you so much. It was a really pleasure to participate in this conference. It was incredibly highlighting and really inspirational morning. So thank you so much for having me. A little bit of myself and why I'm here, because obviously I have a different background from most people in this room. So I was born and raised in Italy. I have a Bachelor of Science in Economics. So I started out as an economics student, and then I went into finance. I was in banking for a few years in Italy. But I have always been interested in the human side of business. And because I was also very, I liked very much reading, engaging with ideas, I decided to pursue a PhD. And I decided to do it in the United States. And so I moved to the United States, where I lived for almost 8 years in total. I had different experiences. I had a Master of Science in Business Administration and then a PhD in Organizational Behavior. And that was an experience that changed me profoundly. I was in St. Louis. St. Louis, if you're not familiar with it, is the most segregated city in the United States. There's a street that cuts through the city that separates the white population, Caucasian population from the black population. and it was the first time that I had ever lived in a situation like that. I was in St. Louis when the time of the killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson. Ferguson was only a few miles away from St. Louis. And I saw the Black Lives Matter movement starting and then developing and becoming what it is today. So that changed me profoundly. I've seen discrimination. I've never suffered discrimination, because even if I wasn't American, I was white, and that was enough to grant myself a privileged status in their society. But I've seen it around me, and it affected me a lot. It was the first time that I was face to face with social inequality, and I wanted to do something about it. And when I completed my PhD and I came to Cambridge, I'm an assistant professor of organizational behavior at Cambridge Business School, I realized that I had an opportunity to become part of change that was going on and happening here at the University of Cambridge. So I became involved in a lot of initiatives and efforts to promote diversity and inclusion across the university. So I currently teach diversity and inclusion across programs at Cambridge Business School. I am the academic director of the Cambridge Rising Women Leaders, which help women with leadership ambition to pursue those ambitions through rigorous education, through support network that we help them establish. And that also made me realize, think about impact and how you impact people. You impact people by doing business, by finding this amazing organization to support others, but you do also through education. And I was amazed, I'm always amazed to see the impact that you can have on your students when you teach important subject matters. And I have the incredible privilege of teaching leadership and diversity and inclusion at Cambridge Judge, where many of our students are future leaders. And so be in that position where you can talk about leadership, send them powerful messages, and opening up those discussions around diversity and inclusion can really make a difference. And so that's my contribution, I guess, what I bring to this panel. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. And last but not least, we have Ikenna. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story, and I know you've also been through the Judge Business School, so happy to have you on board for this discussion too.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say a big thank you for the organizers to getting me here, and sitting with my professor here and on the same stage and trying to have a dialogue. I'm actually doing the executive MBA at Cambridge, so he took one of our courses. So it's a privilege myself to just sit down here. So. My name is Ikenna. Although he says Senior Manager Data Analytics, 2 weeks ago I joined a new company, so maybe that has to change before I leave. So I'm now currently working with Google, still doing data analytics, AI kind of work with Google. Just started about 2 weeks ago. But just to give you a backstory, I'm from Nigeria. I'm Igbo, so representing the Igbo community with my Isiagu, Igbo Kwenu. Of course, my people are everywhere. So that's me. So born in Nigeria, raised in Lagos. I studied computer engineering for a bit, and then after that went into consulting. Started out doing SAP consulting, enterprise resource planning tools, and business intelligence kind of work. Did some time in Nigeria, and then came to the UK over 6 years ago. So in all, I've been doing work in data analytics, AI for over 10 years plus, just primarily helping companies extract insight from the big data using machine learning models and thinking through how large companies like, for example, Amazon, using the data to better serve their organizations, and now in Google also doing the same thing. But before I continue, I want to say that all my opinions are mine and not my company. They always require us to say that. So I'm still an employee, so I have to say that. So I'm just talking from my own experience and not representing either Google or Amazon in my comments. So yeah, that's how I started out. So it's been that journey. But aside from the corporate world, on the side I also do technology advisory for startups. So because I've gathered enough of experience in cloud computing, AI, and data analytics, I try to help startup founders that want to figure out how that world would work in that sense. And I also play a small part in angel investing for the very pre-seed kind of startups that want to get started in Africa. So I've been exposed to that startup world and all that. So that's, I mean, in a nutshell, yeah. Happy to be here.
So for the remainder of this panel, I'd like to focus it on some of the very specific experiences of our panelists. And I think to kick it off, we'll start with Lamin, so going back online. And my question to you is, you've obviously had experience within finance and then moved on to early stage investing. What are some of the key sectors that you're seeing that are driving startups within the continent? And if you could also comment on what the regional breakdown looks like, that would be great.
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest sector, obviously, at this point in time within the African tech ecosystem, it's fintech. I think it had account in the past for most of the successful startups that have come out of the continent, but also have seen the biggest amount of funding. But obviously, a lot of new sectors are now coming up. I think EdTech, it's becoming a thing because obviously there are still a lot of a huge part of the community that still lack access to education, even if they would have smartphones and other digital tools in their hands. And in addition to that, I think marketplaces are also coming up now as people look to buy things, both goods and services, beyond their borders. And there are entrepreneurs that are coming up to provide them the solutions that enable them to do this. And I guess that's especially e-commerce and logistics, it's going to see a lot of increase given the new policies that are coming up, especially with AFTA. That's hopefully it's going to make it easier for African countries to trade between themselves. And I think that's something we need a lot in the continent if we are going to if you are going to see a rapid growth, especially within the tech sector. Then in terms of the key countries that are driving the ecosystem now, I think there is this top 5 countries that account for the bulk of the startup ecosystem on the continent, and these are mainly South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and Egypt, and these, I think these are the countries that are seeing most of the startups that people typically are talking about on the continent. Having said that, I think a lot of new markets are also coming up as policymakers and other stakeholders are beginning to see the importance of nurturing an innovation ecosystem within their countries. So a lot of good news are coming, for example, recently from the Francophone countries as well.
Thanks so much for that comprehensive response. And I think the next one is going to probably kick it back to Ikenna. So you talked a little bit about how you've been supporting startups within the African ecosystem in terms of tech consulting. So Lamine has mentioned obviously the top 5 countries that are receiving a lot of the investment. When you think about advice that you'd give to startups that are outside these major ecosystems, is there anything thinking about it from a tech consulting perspective or from a data perspective that can help them get a piece of that pie of investment?
All right, thank you for the question. I think I'll start off by saying that it's never been easier to start a company from a technology perspective. And I'll come from a cloud computing side of things, right? Before the advent of the cloud and all that we see, people typically, to start a tech company, you need to buy expensive servers. You need to get experts in doing, building those servers and getting them to operate, and then get analysts and admin. So for starters, to experiment your ideas, because where it starts is actually, how do I get that that product market fit? How do I make sure I'm solving a real problem? How's the feasibility of the idea, right? Or at the stage where you're still trying to fundamentally think whether the idea will work, it's now easier than ever to just spin up a quick technology startup platform in one of the cloud providers to just say, okay, I want to build a fintech company and I want to build an edtech company. What's the prototype going to look like, or what we call proof of concept? How do I see whether this is really going to solve a problem before I then invest in exactly going to look for funding in large scale? So what that has done is democratize the process of even trying to become an entrepreneur, right? So if you're interested in becoming a technology entrepreneur, with less than $50 to $100, you can know whether your system would work. You can get the right people to test it. You can do market research. You can bring all those from a digital perspective, right? And then you can then try to say, okay, this is working and not working. So what that has done for even places in Africa, they could utilize this technology to test. So they're beginning to level the playing ground where people can say, you don't have to have 5 million of investment to even get your idea out. And then when you bought, business model innovation onto it, these days you also don't need to come up with new ideas. Sometimes it's all about looking around you and seeing how do you just innovate the business model that's currently working in terms of is it the sequence of the processes, or you're talking about innovating around the timelines or reallocating the risks generally around those innovation, and then you could just copy. For example, Paystack would say they are the Stripe. So they looked at Stripe, a model that's working, they implemented in Africa, they came out with $200 million. So sometimes starting this startup doesn't have to be grand anymore. It's not those days that I have to be a wizard or a geek or a genius. It's just having an idea, and there are tools for you to test the ideas quickly to see whether it works or doesn't work. And then you just move on from there. So I would say for people that are not from those places, it's now easy for you to experiment, get the market, product market fees, get all those things in place, and then if so, then begin your journey so you don't waste your time on something potentially that wouldn't work.
Thank you so much for that insight. And moving on to Khadija, my question for you is really about building out teams and especially thinking about who to bring into the fold as you're thinking about expansion. Can you talk a little bit about your experience identifying the right talent to bring in, and how have you supported them in your journey as you scale your business?
Yeah, sure. So that's a very nice question, especially in my country. Now we are a bit suffering, and not only startups, but actually corporates, companies like Microsoft and IBM, for example. We've been there for years. They are suffering now because a lot of companies in the US, for example, have started their own development house there in Egypt because, of course, the labor is much cheaper, everything's cheaper, so they start giving them in dollars, and of course that's much higher than what we can afford, or even corporates can afford, and it's increasing every now and then. So now it's a huge challenge for any startup to get the right talent. So just starting by this, it's really difficult. So going forward from there, what I've been seeing in our own startup, and I think it's really succeeding or going well because we've been having employees or developers for the last 5 years, and they didn't leave us. We've always learned, especially when we went to Catapult Accelerator in the Norway, they really taught us this lesson. Try not to work with employees who just are coming for a job. It's not a job. So they told us, you need to have a mission, you need to have a purpose, and that needs to be communicated really explicitly. It's not like just in my mind as a founder or a co-founder. It needs to be explicitly communicated to the whole team, to everyone, starting from the interview, not just when they are onboarding, from the interview and asking explicitly, this is what we are doing, this is our vision, this is why we are doing it. Are you, and it's not like asking them, are you on board or something, you will feel it. We feel the passion in the interview if they are really similar to us. So what I'm always telling people in my whole team, any department who are hiring, even if I don't do the last interview, don't get anyone that is not similar to us. And I'm not saying similar in terms of discrimination or anything, similar in terms of how they look at the company, how they look at us, and how they want to build it with us. Doing that, I really am proud, and I'm really happy with the team I have. As I'm telling you, they've been there for years, building the company with us. They suffered a lot at the beginning with us. We were very small, we didn't give high salaries at all. We were sometimes very late in giving the salary, not at the end of the month, but sometimes we left them for a week or 2 weeks extra because we were waiting for revenues from customers, and they never said a bad word or anything. They were just really trying to help as much as possible, telling other, for example, they are just talking about our startup to customers, for instance, even if they are developers. It's not their job, but they're doing it. So I think this is the most crucial thing, especially for startups. Of course, corporates might depend on something else, but startups, when you cannot give the high salary or the medical and social insurance and all the other benefits and the thing and the bean bags and everything, we do not have this luxury yet. But I was able to give them something to work for and to feel valuable. I think that's all, and of course, appreciating them. They know that appreciation in terms of me and my co-founders was really the high thing. You need to tell them every now and then how much you are really recognizing what they are doing. And it's not that I'm going up there pitching Praxi Labs and winning in competitions. It's not my face. I need to tell them that you are building this. I'm just pitching it to people. So I think that's the most important things.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Khadija. And I think the final segue, that was a good way to segue into Patricia and her work on leading interpersonal relationships within organizations. So for my question for you is, we'll have participants coming in, the finalists for the pitch competition. As they're thinking through how they build their organizations, what are some of the key success factors that you see in bringing in talent and retaining talent that you've done within your research that you think would be applicable to them?
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a very good question. And I think I can link my answer to the discussion that we just had in the context of entrepreneurship. So, as I said, I teach diversity inclusion across programs, but a program where I'm really fond of, where I teach diversity inclusion and we teach, issues of talent and how do you manage the human part of an organization, is the master of entrepreneurship. And there are Anina was in the panel before, and I don't know if she's still in the room. She's a student of mine that I supervise on her dissertation. So how do you, we talk about diversity and inclusion in the context of entrepreneurship. And one thing that we discussed in the class, obviously, is the importance of bringing the right talent to your venture, to your business idea. And talent come in every form, shape, and color. So an important discussion that we try at least to open up in the classroom. Keep in mind that my classroom are not rooms like these. My classrooms are rooms of the context of master entrepreneurship, 60 students, and perhaps only 5 are Africans. And then we might have other backgrounds. So I'm talking to that audience, and I'm trying to open up this conversation around the importance of recognizing talent in whatever form it comes to you. But there are two messages here that I try to send to my white students or majority students and the minorities that I have in the classroom. And so for the majority is the importance of recognizing all those biases that creep in and make us somehow, extremely prone to approach people that look like us in the moment when we build our business. We have this tendency of reaching out and to people that have similar backgrounds, that have similar pathways, backgrounds and experiences. And that means in a class of where a majority of students are white and privileged, that means they might tend to go to one another and trying to build teams within their own group. And that's wrong, because they miss really on the opportunity of bringing in diversity within a team, which is what really matters. And then of course we also discuss about the importance of creating an environment that make minorities feel welcome. So it's not just about reaching out to people that are different from you and try to increase diversity in your organization, in your firm. It's also creating a safe environment where people feel they can be themselves, that are appreciated for who they are and their unique experiences. Now, for the minority student that I have in my room, it's incredibly important, linking back to the conversation that I've heard before, previous panel that was about the importance of social capital. The reality is that as an African entrepreneur, you're going to be discriminated. You're going to be discriminated not because the people that will judge you, venture capitalists, you're going to pitch your ideas, are bad people, evil people. But because there are, unfortunately, it's been studied, documented in research, again, a lot of biases and schemas that people bring to those evaluations. So we're all very familiar with the model of successful Silicon Valley entrepreneur, and that is the first thing that pops in people's mind. The image of successful entrepreneur that lives in most venture capitalist mind. And so how do you fight that? And so it's also important, if you are a minority member, if you are a minority entrepreneur, to team up with people that are different from you, which means that you must reach out to the majority. And that because, again, not only because from a diversity perspective, you're also, forming a team that is diverse, but because you want to build allies. And so I cannot agree more with what we said before about the importance of building the social capital, to building those connections. You need that. You want to broaden your source of potential funding. And one of the key things that venture capitalists look at when they assess an idea is the team, who is in the team. Is a diverse team in terms of backgrounds, which means that you have talent, different talent in your organization, means that people that are in the team brings different competences. But also, what are their life experiences? And how are they different? An African student very likely has a different network than a typical European Cambridge student. And then differences in network is important too, because all businesses want to be global. They look for opportunity to grow. And so the fact that you have in the team people with different backgrounds, with different networks, different social capital means that your venture is going to benefit from all of that. And so because I've heard throughout the day, which is really admirable, this really determination of making on your own. And Africa wants to rebuild itself and make it on its own, because for too long has been in the hands of others that have managed the continent. And I do understand that, but I also want to emphasize, this message of, as an entrepreneur, don't try to make it alone, because you're choosing a very difficult path for yourself. And so try to find people that are different from you, that might play the role of allies and might give you, the social capital that you might need to get to certain sources of funding. People, of course, they want to work with you. And there are many. And I want to hope that many of our students that come to Cambridge and have the Cambridge experience and take our courses and hear our messages about leadership and the importance of diversity and inclusion are the kind of students. I want to believe that the majority of students that have my class wants to team up with the entrepreneurs that we have in this room and really join forces to create something that will have an impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Angela. Fantastic. I'm right behind you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to our panel. Let's give them another round of applause. Now it's time to hear from the startups that are actually going to pitch. We have 3 startup companies. That is Capsu, that is Ukahamba Prosthetics and Orthotics, and Suacode.ai. They're all going to pitch in Africa's Future Pitch competition. So first up, virtually, we are going to have Capsu. Now, just take this opportunity to remind all the startups, that they have 5 minutes each to pitch. That's 5 minutes per company to allow time for the judges to ask them any questions. So each of our finalists will get 5 minutes to pitch.
Ikechiku, please can you turn on your video, and then I would.
If you can turn on your video.
Am I supposed to share my screen or something?
We would share the slides for you.
Yeah, but I can do it as well if you want.
You can.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me before I go on.
We can hear you.
Okay. So I can go straight, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Okay. Sorry, next slide then. So SMEs in Africa account for 90% of the businesses and also 50% of employment. But what we know from research is that SMEs in terms of funding get less than 10% of all of the funding that goes into businesses. And this is what we want to address. Next slide. We want our vision as a startup in fintech, this fintech space in Africa, is to become the information infrastructure for funding SMEs. We want to be that technology platform that provides all of the required information, either in terms of a business transaction information, in terms of credit rating, and just all of the kind of information that investors and financial institutions require to make funding decisions for SMEs. Because one of the things we'll find out in the market is also that investors are wary and scared about investing in SMEs because most of their transactions are not documented. They don't have the system to keep record, and they become very risky in terms of lending. So our vision is to become that information infrastructure for helping investors and financial institutions make lending decision to SMEs. We also want to enable financial institutions, investors to make funding decisions faster, conveniently, and cost effectively. Next slide. And how are we doing this? Our solutions are in three elements. So the first is the enterprise solution. The second one is the information infrastructure, and then third is the core APIs. In terms of the enterprise solutions, we have this has to do with the bookkeeping app that we provided for SMEs, something that makes it very easy. Of course, we know there are thousands of bookkeeping or accounting apps there in the market, but many SMEs don't have the capabilities to use those existing accounting apps, and in many cases they are very expensive for them. So we have this very simple bookkeeping app that enables SMEs to capture their spending, sales, revenue, asset, and all of those things, which is the first step for them to get access, to even have a foot on the door for investors to listen to them. Our second solution is the market relevant insight and compliance. So we help SMEs to comply with existing regulations in terms of business registration, all of the tax details that they need to provide. And thirdly is the core API that we're providing. How does this core API services work? Our credit rating, which is part of the enterprise services, enables investors to have access to, sort of the credit rating of these institutions, and then through sharing of APIs, investors and financial institutions get to understand the credit history and the credit worthiness of SMEs, and this helps very significantly in reducing the cost of lending and makes lending risk-free for investors. And this is one of the core services that we're providing as part of our vision of becoming the information infrastructure for lending to SMEs in Africa. Next slide. What is our pricing model? So for the enterprise solutions, we have a combination of freemium and then business documentation access fees. So there is an aspect of our service, which is, just a bit of the certain level of the bookkeeping services, which are free, just a way, like a funnel to help us get SMEs to use our services. But when they start using this service, when it comes to the stage of having to apply for funding, then they have to subscribe to our services, and then they pay a certain minimum commitment fee on a monthly basis to continue to access this enterprise solution. The second one is the core APIs. For financial institutions who access our core API just to have access to information about SMEs, they have to pay API volume fees on a regular basis, depending on the number of SMEs that they're accessing their information, to be able to make lending decisions. And the third one is the syndicated loan services. We get a commission for every syndicated loan service that is provided to SMEs through our platform. Next slide. This is our team. We have a combination of IT experts. We have people in marketing. We have people who have also experience in international development, who are all putting their skills and knowledge and experience to bear in order to drive this vision. Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm true, just to let you know.
Yes. So we're good. Thank you. And we're going to go with the next person. So the next page is we're going to keep you on just so that, because there's going to be a Q&A session after this, and then the next person, Sibongile, is the founder of Ukumba Prosthetics and Orthotics, will come on, and Sibongile, yes. Oh, sorry. I should share it first. Sibongile, if you can start and let me know, then we can.
Okay. Greetings all. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Greetings all. I go by the name of Spoon Lemngati. I serve as a founder of a company called Uhamba Prosthetics and Optics, and our motto says giving you a hand. Next slide, please. This is Dumsani. He lost his legs due to sugar diabetes, and there are more people like him in South Africa. He could not access a prosthetic limb due to the fact that it's expensive, and he's been on the waiting list for more than 5 years trying to access a prosthetic limbs. Thousands of people across South Africa suffer from such, with no solution available, no hope of more comfortable life. So in a nutshell, as Uhamba Prosthetic, the problem that we are solving is the demand of affordable prosthetic limbs, which is currently higher than what is available in the market. For example, one of the third largest hospital in the entire world from the Southern Hemisphere, known as Chris Baragwanath Hospital, can only produce 120 prosthetics annually with a database of 10,000 patients annually. So what that simply says, according to World Health Organization, it is estimated that 1 out of 10 low-income countries have access to these form of prosthetic care and orthotics. So this is what actually inspired me to think there must be a better way. How can we provide Dumi and others with a comfortable, light, affordable prosthetics with a short waiting turnaround time? Next slide, please. As Uhamba, we actually leverage the digital technology for faster production, better fit, sustainability, and affordability of prosthetic limbs for less privileged people in South Africa, in Africa, and globally. By using 3D printing technology to produce these prosthetic limbs, and also 3D scans and mobile apps for ordering and measurements, so that it can be convenient. We do this quickly, efficient, produce prosthetic at a relative low cost, providing this to those that are in need of a prosthetic. As you can see on the picture, this is Dumsani now wearing our new lightweight, durable plastic prosthetics that was proudly manufactured by Uhamba using recyclable material. Next slide, please. This is our products. They actually come in various colors that delights the user. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. And also they're lightweight, durable, and they also come with an adjuster, meaning that even if a user gains weight or loses weight, he or she would be able to actually adjust his or her own prosthetic limbs. And also they are customized with design according to a client specification. Next slide, please. And these are some of our competitors, people that are actually doing what we're also doing. Chris Baragwanath Hospital is also one of the competitors, but now what set us apart from the rest is that we actually produce this by making it more fashionable, when a user can able to overcome disability in a psychological level, meaning that we produce this by designing according to the client's requirements, and also we are affordable. As you can see, one of our competitors, known as Michael Nell, they actually charge this at $2,855 upwards, and ours it starts from $951. Next slide, please. And our prosthetics are more affordable options, and our customers are your healthcare, military, NGOs, and also target audience. We target all genders, females, males, from low-income countries and townships. And also our business model is B2B, business to consumer, business to business, and only 30.5% have access to prosthetic care in South Africa. Next slide, please. Our business model, we actually design, we produce and supply to different customer segmentations and requirements, and we actually generate revenue from maintenance of a prosthetic limbs, designing prosthetic cover to make it more fashionable from the existing ones, and we actually produce, and also we produce your splint and brace, and also we also produce your handicap shoes. That's where we actually generate, and also your crushes fillers. That's where currently we are making revenues from, and also from 3D printing services and also 3D scanning. And currently we are working with one of the disability schools in South Africa, in Soweto. We are actually helping them with the knee pads for their disability kids. Next slide, please. Our financial support, our ask is the non-financial support in the form of mentorship, also access to industry experts, and also financial support, where we are actually in need of $49,361 that will be used to purchase more of our industrial equipment, because currently we are working with a domestic machinery that actually helps us to produce this process. As you can see, Tumsan is actually using it. Next slide, please. And then this is our team. Currently, as Sibongile Mungadi, the founder of Ukuhamba Prosthetics, I hold a background, educational background in Internet of Things, 3D printing, and also currently an undergraduate under Faculty of Business and Commerce. And this is our board of advisory with more than 40 years experience in sales and marketing, procurement, scientific quality assurance, technological management. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and we'll ask our first two pitchers to just stay on Zoom there. And in the room we have the final pitch in the Africa's Future Pitch competition, and that's from sewercode.ai. Let's give him a round of applause.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is George Boateng. I'm the co-founder and CEO of sewercode.ai, which is an edtech AI startup democratizing coding education across Africa using smartphones and AI. Africa is home to the world's largest and youngest workforce, yet unemployment persists and companies are struggling to fill IT-related positions. According to the World Economic Forum, less than 1% of African children leave school with basic coding skills. One major cause is poor access to computers for teaching and learning. In fact, only 11% of students in sub-Saharan Africa have access to household computers. Yet, there is a proliferation of smartphones in Africa. With a projected over 600 million smartphones in Africa by 2025, smartphones provide a unique opportunity to introduce coding skills to Africans. This issue of limited access to computers was highlighted in our summer program in 2017, when out of our 27 students, only 25% had laptops, yet 100% had smartphones, leading us to modify our laptop-based coding course and make it run all on a smartphone. So our students basically learned fundamental coding concepts and then built a phone game all on their phone. The program went so well that we decided to take it online so that we could scale to millions of Africans. And that's how sewercode was born. sewercode is a smartphone app with an AI teaching assistant, Kwame, that enables you to learn coding in monthly online cohorts. When a student downloads our app and signs up, she can enroll in one of our courses. When she does that, she can read the lesson notes offline in English and French. She can work on coding assignments and quizzes, submit and get feedback from our AI. And if she runs into issues, she can post on the forum, get help from our team of facilitators, her peers, and our AI teaching assistant, Kwame. Our courses are project-based, hands-on. Students learn to build things like games while enjoying the learning experience. Our courses are in English and French, which cover most countries across Africa. We have an AI-powered forum where students can get help from our AI teaching assistant, Kwame. We connect our students with African mentors, and students that complete receive a certificate. So there are currently computer-based platforms like Codecademy, Coursera, Udacity, and there are mobile coding apps like SoloLearn, where students can learn to code. But ours is the only mobile app with an AI teaching assistant that helps you learn on the way. Also, we run in cohorts, which means that our students get to learn in a community, helping increase our completion rates. Between 2018 and 2020, we ran a number of pilots, which has had over 2K learners across 5 continents, 42 in Africa, with an average completion rate of 62%, which is well above the industry average of under 10%. Our alums are doing great studying computer science and engineering in top universities like MIT, Yale, Columbia, Dartmouth, and also going to work in companies like Microsoft and Google. We are targeting the 46 million smartphone-owning youth across Africa. So we have 2 approaches for the revenue model, B2C and B2B. For the B2C, we're using a freemium model, so students can basically enroll in the course for free, have access to lesson notes, and then they have to upgrade for the full features and pay $25. And for that, they would have access to AI-powered feedback and a certificate upon completion. And for students that can afford, we offer scholarships, and we are working to partner with various global nonprofits and organizations to make that happen. For the B2B route, the plan is to offer code classrooms to schools and companies for upskilling of learners and employees. And we also plan to offer AI teaching assistant Kwame as a service edtech companies so that they can offer scalable question answering to their students. So my co-founder and I, we've been friends since high school. We've been mentoring and teaching young Africans for the past 8 years. My co-founder is doing his PhD in neuroscience at Charité Berlin. I have a computer science and engineering degree from Dartmouth College. I'm doing my PhD in applied machine learning in ETH, and I work at Amazon in the Alexa AI team. And we have a team of 4 engineers and 2 operation personnel. We've published our work in prestigious conferences, global conferences across the world, and we've won prestigious awards for our work, including the African Union Education Innovation Prize and the MIT Technology Review 35 Innovators Under 35. I'm truly excited about what we are doing to bring coding skills within arm's reach of millions across Africa, literally into their palms, thereby improving their career and economic prospects. Thank you.
Okay, now's the time for our judges to ask our 3 finalists any questions. We've got about 10 minutes for this, so please go ahead.
Sibongile and Ikechukwu, please, can you unmute yourself, because there is a Q&A session now for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have a question.
Yeah,
For
please go ahead.
the first pitch. Can you say more about the scope of your competition? What is the landscape? Either direct competitor or indirect competitors. I'd like to know a little bit more about if there's anybody else who is filling that gap in the market.
Okay, so for the market in Africa, I mean, there are many players already in the fintech vertical. So you have payment, you have invoicing, you have other verticals. But one of the key areas in the entire fintech vertical where there is literally or nearly no fintechs playing is in this sort of credit rating vertical. There is a bit of activity in that with some companies that we've seen in South Africa and one other one in Kenya, but it's one area that is largely lacking in terms of fintech participation. So in terms of direct competition, I would say it's a very weak one. And one special thing also with what we're doing is that we are combining some of the elements of what some fintechs do individually. So we're moving from sort of the bookkeeping that some fintechs do alone, linking it as the raw material for developing the credit rating, and then doing also peer-to-peer lending, connecting these SMEs to the sources of funding, which is, something that some fintech just do alone. So we sort of the only end-to-end fintech in terms of the way that we are building this out in the African fintech space at the moment. So in terms of competition, there is no direct competition, but there are slicks of competition in just some elements of the things that we're doing in the market. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question also for the first one. So
Yeah.
I don't think I got, I'm not sure if you have it in the slides, but I didn't think you had anything to say about the go-to-market strategy. So if you can just give us a
Okay.
brief thing.
Okay, so our go-to-market strategy has already been kicked off. So we have three strategy for going to the market. The first one is that we're working with institutions. So institutions like banking institutions who already have a huge base of SMEs working with them. We have conversations already with banks in Nigeria. We've been reached out to from a bank in Poland. We've been reached out as well from a bank in Saudi Arabia, which is second biggest bank in Saudi Arabia. So we find that, banks or financial institutions who have a huge pool of SMEs, are asking for us to provide our platform to be their single platform for lending to SMEs. So that's one go-to-market strategy, leveraging existing institutions who have these customers already. The second one is the relationship that we have with some institutions who have direct mandate for SME development and lending in Nigeria. For instance, this MEDAN, the SMEs Development Agency, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigerian Bank of Industry, and several institutions like that have direct regulatory mandate and development mandate for lending to SMEs. We've been having conversations with them to provide our platform to be their platform for lending to SMEs. Some are already asking for white labeling. So we provide this infrastructure and we do the management and support in the background, and they simply do the UI and white labeling and use it as their platform for lending to SMEs. That's the second one. And the third one is the one that we're doing directly with SME clusters. So of several, the way traditional African commodity markets have. So you have sort of open markets everywhere. You have clusters of SMEs all around the place in trade, in commerce, in carpentry, in all kinds of clusters. We're having conversations with the heads of these SME clusters, and we're speaking to them directly in building this technology. We're having regular monthly conversations with them to understand how this solution can fit into their condition, specifically taking them from where they are, because they know that there are platforms that provide this kind of services, but the way that they have been, these technologies that are developed, they were not developed with these SMEs in mind. So we are building our technology with regular conversation with these SME clusters, understanding where they are, understanding what level of technology savvy exists within them, and then building technologies that fit into this, so that once they get on our platform, is seamless in terms of how they enjoy our services and in terms of how they get benefit from what we provide. So these are the three go-to-market strategies that we've been exploring in the past couple of months. Yeah.
Do we have to move to the second, or can we have another question? Last one. Yeah. Another point that is missing also is traction. Can you just let me know what about traction? Do you have
traction? So our traction for now, we have over 500 users on our platform, and these users are from both Nigeria and Ghana. We actually rolled out in Ghana because we have a relationship with a SME, with the Chamber of Commerce in the Western region of Ghana as the launch pad for our technology. So we rolled out in Ghana. We're having conversations also with several other SME clusters and banks in the country to enable us also roll out with their platform, leveraging on the SME clusters and database that they have. So traction for now is over 500 users. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No, the next one.
Okay.
Sibongile, this is your turn.
Okay, I could kick things off. Thanks for the presentation. I do have two quick questions for the Humhaba prosthetics. The first one would be how does this scale, right? Scalability of this solution. How would you scale it? And the second one would be in terms of affordability. I saw the price tag was around $951, right? I don't know what your target audience is in terms of people that could afford it, or how you plan for people to afford it. So if you could just shed more light on those two areas.
Okay, thank you for your question. Can you please kindly repeat the first question? But the second one, you were actually referring to in terms of the pricing.
Yes.
So, okay, in terms of the pricing, we have different prices for different products. So with that price that's on our presentation, it's for like your lower limb leg. So the 950 is for the entire like lower limb. and then for adults. So our primary customers are kids, because kids actually change annually, like every year, because they outgrow the prosthetic. So in that way, if like, for example, if a child needs like a hand or an arm or a finger, obviously now the price will be lower compared to the one that you see for Tumsani, because Tumsani now it was for the entire leg.
Okay, but did you do some market analysis around affordability? Can people afford that price tag? That's just where the question is headed to.
Yes, like I did the market research and validation, because for example, looking at your Michael there, like it's 45,000 in South African rands. So if we charge like 15,000, it's something that's affordable. Like with hospitals, they will have like a contract kind of thing, so that they can actually order from us, then we supply them. Same with the NGOs, they can raise funds on behalf of the donors, and like same with militaries as well. Then coming to individuals, it's like those that are actually employed, because most of the time people cannot go to work because he or she does not have a leg or an arm. But if he or she is able to go back to work and paying like 15,000 rand to have an arm or a leg, I think it's something affordable.
Okay. So, but do you think around the payment plan, for example, is that part of your model? For example, how people, because I'm also from Africa. 951 sounds a lot, I think. So it's just how. Maybe think around what strategy you would use around how people would pay might be a good one. And the second question is just in terms of scaling production, right? You said you do the printing. How do you plan to upscale? So if you then have 1,000 of such demand, what's your plan for scale?
I beg your pardon?
What's your plan for scaling the business? I don't know how many you do currently, but say you get an order of 1,000 or 2,000 or so.
Okay.
How would you meet that demand?
Okay, currently like we are having like 2 of these machines. So in order for us to actually scale, we need like the industrial one, which is the bigger one. So with the bigger one, we are able to actually minimize the hours, because currently we spend like 8 hours to 10 hours to just produce like one. So in terms of scalability, we would need more machinery so that we can produce in a mass scale. And then also that thing is, like I said, partnering up with relevant stakeholders, that will definitely help us to scale, because like currently, as we said, that it's only 30.5% in South Africa that have access to this. So if we can at least improve or impact 69.5%, like close to 70%, I think that would also talk more about scalability.
Okay, that's me for now.
I have a question about your team. I know that advisors are important and everything, but I think more important is the team itself. So I saw you having 3 advisors, but I didn't get the whole team. How many, or do you have co-founders, or the skills?
Guys, I'm not sure. I'm struggling to hear you guys. I don't know, is it from my side or from your side?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm talking about the team, your team. I saw on the slide that you have 3 different advisors and you talked about them, but I'm not sure you talked about your team, the ones who are building this. So do you have co-founders? How many person in the team?
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you for that. So currently, like I, as a founder, I also lead the production side of things. And then currently we are working with 2 interns. From the one with an educational background of biomedical engineer and also mechanical engineer. So what happens is that they're also part of the production, where we actually, because before we actually produce this, we actually design it from the software.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask a quick question? I have a question for the SWA code, the third pitch. So I understand that at the end of your course, participants receive a certificate of achievement. Oh, it's here. So at the end of your course, participants receive a certificate of achievement. Do you have a sense of how that translates in the market? So the people, for example, that have already completed your course, have you done any analysis to see what they were able to achieve with that certificate Did they find jobs in tech companies? Did they found their own tech company? What happens to them?
Yeah, so currently we have just one course right now, and so it's just an introductory course. And the certificate on itself currently for this course wouldn't enable you to immediately get a job. It's just going to give you the skills to be able to pick up more skills. But the plan is to partner with various universities across Africa so that the certificate would actually mean much more in terms of being able to get a job.
Mm-hmm. So for now, you hope.
Yes, right now it's just like a way to demonstrate to a future employee that you take initiative personally, or you go the extra mile to acquire skills.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. On the slide of the theme, you mentioned you and your co-founder,
Yes.
CEO and COO, right?
Yes.
Do you have anyone who's working on sales and marketing? Because this is, I think, a very important part for you. So who's doing the sales and marketing?
Yeah, so we have a marketing lead who handles all things related to the marketer.
But not a co-founder,
He's not
but
a co-founder,
a
no.
full-time employee.
Yeah, he's
And
one
the
of our
sales as
two.
well?
Sorry?
And the sales as well?
The what?
Sales. So the sales.
Sales. Yes, we have 4 engineers. We have an operations lead who handles their sales, and then a marketing lead. So 6 people. Yeah.
Perhaps Lamine might have a question for one of the or all of the startups.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, starting with Swakot Singh just finished talking. I looked at the business model slide, and you talked about 2 billion revenue, which I think it's very ambitious. So that's nice. But given that you sell courses for 25 USD, I'm not sure that would require you to sell 8 million courses. What's the scalability plans for this?
Yeah, so we have an app, so everything is automated. A student just needs to enroll in the course. We have monthly courses, so the course runs throughout the year, and we're going to have more courses, so you just multiply. The more the number of courses, the more the potential to make money from it. The goal is to reach millions of Africans, so once we reach that, the number becomes more realistic, right?
Right, and what are the plans of reaching those million people? Because again, at the end, it's the ability of getting the paying customers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one key challenge. So right now, in terms of marketing, we're exploring, we're using various digital avenues like social media to reach our potential clients. The future plan is to potentially partner with, governments, right? Right now, governments are interested in including coding as part of the main curriculum, right? So once we get to that point, it becomes easy. We have a platform that, is accessible, smartphone. So once that, becomes included, we can just reach millions of people.
Thank you. And finally, are there plans to ensure that this service reach the communities that are not necessarily connected to the internet?
Yeah, so that's one big challenge. So we take a number of measures to make sure that the platform works with limited internet. So our course materials, students can save it offline, so they don't need to be online to be able to read the lesson notes or run their code. So we take some measures, but at least they have to still have access to the internet to at least download the app. But in the future also, we plan to partner with various telecoms so that our app could be whitelisted so that students don't need internet to be able to download or use the app.
Awesome, thank you. And then I have a question for Capsule as well. I was wondering, since you have two different stakeholders paying for your services, the API users and the SMEs that are using the data functions, who do you consider among these two as the most important paying customer?
So the most important paying customer, I don't think this matters a lot, but the most important paying customer would be the SME, because they are the ones that we primarily develop this for. So the lenders or the financial institutions are there because we do have these SMEs that they will be lending to. And beyond sort of the commission from the syndicated loans or lending that we provide, the SMEs provide us more of the revenue than what the lenders provide with the API volume fees and what else, yeah. So customers is our focus, the SMEs, yeah.
Okay, and since it's the data, the integrity of the data, I guess, would be super important to the lenders if they would find it valuable, right? How do you ensure the integrity of the data?
So for all of the both regulatory, of course, Nigeria has a plethora of regulations around data protection, around sort of the settlement or clearinghouse for how authentic data are and what. So we are complying with all of those regulations as well as technical and feasibility details around how data is protected and all of that. So that usually wouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And then finally, for the prosthetic company, I think super important problem we are solving. It's super hard for me to be able to think about that without using my heart alone. But I also had questions about scalability, both affordability and scalability. And I could see the problem that you have because in terms of the units that you can sell for this product, it's quite limited compared to many other products. So I would imagine that's why the competitors' products are even more expensive than yours. But still, given that you target a market that where incomes are fairly low. So I think like one of the panelists mentioned, it's important to consider other ways of subsidizing this cost for the users. But then one question that I had was what happens at the end of the at the end of the life cycle of the product, especially for children that you mentioned that typically they change it quite often.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. So what happens is that, hence we say like we use affordable materials. So meaning like our prosthetic limbs, like which is made of the filament. So the filament is from the recycled plastic. So even with the prosthetic limbs, that's what it happens. Let's say like the cycle has ended, or now it's the prosthetic is broken or whatever the case may be, we recycle it and build a new product out of it. Then take it again to the market.
Thank you. And is the recycling cost lower than producing a new unit from scratch?
Yes, it's more sustainability. Also looking in terms of, that's what actually inspired us to start this, because in my country, most hospitals and manufacturers, they actually rely on exports and imports, meaning that they can't access these materials to actually produce this. So now using these local available materials like your plastic, because people like throw in pollution and all that, then we actually able to actually produce something out of it. So that's how we actually do this in terms of, as you can see, it's like everything, it's plastic.
Thank you for that response. And yeah, that's all the questions from me. And thanks to everyone for the great pitch.
Yeah, thank you. And just to answer you on in terms of the scalability, I think you also spoke about it. So actually now, what is actually holding us back? We need to actually be a registered supplier. So if we have our documented all sorted, then we will be able to actually produce in a mass scale.
Can I have a last question too? So you said on the competitive advantage something about accessibility, right? Mm-hmm. Can you just give us a quick thing about accessibility? What exactly do you mean by it?
Yes. So the first thing is the fact that because we are mobile based, right, it makes it easy to learn to code for students that don't have access to computers. So that's the first one.
So you mean access, not accessibility? Because accessibility is more for the disabled persons, for example, so that's why I was confused. So it's not about
not in terms of disability, yes.
So
yes.
access to students?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
That's clear. I just wanted to ensure which one.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, just final one for me. I just want to talk a bit about the tech. You said something around AI teaching assistants and then technology stack. I just want to get what's behind it, just not just secret sauce, but just walk me through how that works and how that would potentially scale if you get to hit those millions of numbers to hit the billion revenue.
Okay, so Kwame, the AI teaching assistant, answers students' questions. So a student asks a question, a coding question, and they get an answer immediately. So we're using a deep learning natural language processing model that basically takes a question and then retrieves an answer based on our course materials. So on a high level, that's basically what it's doing. Okay, so does it hit the back end, or does it process it on the phone, or it does do it somewhere else? No, so currently we do it in Google Cloud. So we already index the course materials and then it just retrieves it on Google Cloud and then returns it to the front end. Okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much to our three finalists of the Africa Future Pitch competition. That was Kapsu, Ukamba Prosthetics and Orthotics, and Sua Code. We're going to find out the winners of the Africa Future Pitch competition within the hour. First of all,